Hey guys, hope your day's going good. Well fellas, what I'm doing here is getting back on these GT40P heads, and I let it go for a while with them, but I need to get back on track. I'm so far behind with everything that it's been a while since I've been doing any head work except for a few things for myself, and even the LS heads here that I was doing, I put them on hold because I want to get to my big block stuff, and they're waiting back in the corner to be done, and have a few intakes to get done here too. But anyway guys, excuse me fellas, what I wanted to address, I've had a few comments on the combustion chamber. It seems like a lot of people are concerned about how much I'm taking out of the combustion chamber. This is my stuff, fellas. This isn't something I'm doing for an average person. This is how I do it for myself. I've stressed that over and over and over on my videos. And on an average head, I wouldn't go anywhere close to what I'm doing here. I would do all the crucial areas that anybody else would do, but I don't want anybody else's performance. That's why this car right here, the Green Gangster, which is all apart now, my son wants to redo the car, but that's why this car right here has been 9 seconds with our ported E7 heads with GT40 valves, fellas. So let's take that in consideration. And 10s on motor alone. So if that hurts to do the combustion chamber, people's worried about the compression. I'm more worried about getting the air to move around these valves. That's what I keep telling people. I know what I'm in for here, guys. I've said it in the other video. Believe me, it's not fun. There's hours and hours in these heads. But what people don't realize is what I'm doing here. See, this is what I'm trying to point out to some of these guys. One of the tricks of the trade right here, fellas. It looks like I'm widening this back. The reason this is wide right here is because the air has tendency to move over top of the valve. If you don't do these kind of things, you're going to have normal performance. You're not going to be any faster than the next guy out there with these heads. The air has tendency to jump across on the exhaust valve. So if you angle this back, it guides the air more direct under the valve. So that's why this is done, guys. This isn't done for anything I'm experimenting with. This is a known fact. This is something that only a few people do. And if you notice, oh, hang on a second, fellas. I'm going to show you this. The LS heads somewhat do that. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. But they're on the same page with that. So it's not something that I make up or something that I thought of. This is a performance thing that people do. And if you look closely to a pair of aftermarket heads, they have that done. So anytime you want to shroud a valve, you're never going to hurt anything. I had a guy that's a regular performance place. He does porting, and he got on YouTube and said something about this too. Well, here's the problem. My E7 heads flow all the way up to 600 lift, and My son has turned that engine almost 8,000 RPMs with an E7 head. And why is that? It's not magic. It's because I did stuff that people don't do. I actually did the exhaust port into a D shape on that. On the E7s, that's what's done to them. And that's what helped. They flow all the way up to them numbers because, and they don't peter out. They make so much steam. And it's because of things like that. So anybody that watches my video, they're going to think I'm hogging stuff out. Half the time when I wind up with a shape, it's because I've already come out with determination that that's how it needs to be for that air to move out on the best angle. And these are getting bigger valves in. And I even said in the other video that I may put LS valves in it. And right away I got people on there saying there's not enough throat for that. There'll be enough throat when I'm finished with it. I have angles of my own that I deal with, and I don't put them out there because you get slack back. And that's exactly why I'm very cautious of what I put out there. But guys, when you can watch an average engine run into the 9s or 10s, you're not just stumbling across something. My numbers just exceeded one of the best guys out there. I'm just a backyard guy, but I'm making 100 horsepower out of E7s. People don't even realize that. I don't think they comprehend that the E7s are making 100 horsepower basically, right close to it. We had trick flows on the same engine. The E7s outran them. How do I take a head that flows 300 and put a pair of our E7s on there and have it do that? But anyway, getting back to what I was saying, one of the other guys got on YouTube and started saying things about flow numbers. Well, when you have a pair of heads that flow 240 or 230 and they peter out, what good is it? If you can't turn the engine up where you have the extra flow, if you can't turn the RPM out of them and they die off and you can't use the camshaft accordingly to what is going to accommodate the head, you defeated your purpose, fellas. This is how I look at it. I just did a pair recently, a GT40s with a standard valve job, stock valves, didn't change the seat angles, anything tricked out, just a standard port in the way that I do them, in the areas that I thought it needed to be addressed, and that engine picked up 80 horsepower with no other changes. With a stock cam, the guy told me he couldn't believe how much torque it had. Even me, I thought I might lose the bottom end out of the engine when I did the heads. And I said, you might lose a little bit of bottom end. And it's not even a roller motor. It's like I think an 85 engine or something like that. Flat tappet. It wasn't even a roller. So for that engine to do that is pretty good. And the guy told me they had it on the dyno, and they couldn't figure out why they could put less and less timing in it. And I told him, I was there. I says, because the combustion chambers are done where you can get away with running less timing in them. And they were just amazed by that. And these are guys that are very performance oriented. They weren't off the wall guys. One of the guys there that has the dyno, he has a really good shop, and he has some really fast cars himself. So that was a compliment in a roundabout way coming about the combustion chambers when they could run less timing in it like I talk about. The only thing I'm guilty for, guys, is not explaining myself well enough on these videos, and that's because I'm under a lot of pressure when it comes to doing these, because they freeze my phone and stuff up, fellas, when I do these segments. It's really, I'm trying to do things for people and put ideas out there. And this isn't for anybody to copycat. This is just something my friends say, hey, you ought to put that out there and show what you guys do. And that's what I do. But you have to understand why I'm doing it. And fellas, as long as it works, I know all the guys out there that what they say and what they do as far as performance. All the guys are on YouTube. I see them just as much as you guys do. But I also have my own theories and ideas on stuff. And as long as my theories work, I'm going to do them. I wouldn't care if an engine made less horsepower as long as it's turning the number. That sounds off the wall to say, but if that engine goes nines, we want the car to go nines, or the flow numbers, as far as that goes, if the engine runs how we want it to run, then that's all that's important to me. That's why a lot of guys say, well, what's the flow numbers? I don't get into the flow numbers because they're misleading. Too many guys are caught up in flow numbers. The guys that really understand this stuff agree with me. And the ones that don't, that's usually the ones that are making mistakes when they're buying a pair of heads, because they're buying heads according to flow numbers. If you do that, you can think I'm wrong all you want to, but I'm not wrong about that, guys. The engine has to call for a certain amount of air, and that's what's wrong with a 302. Half the time people try to put more through it than it can take. I can prove that because we had a pair of Edelbrock Victor Juniors on a 302. The car went 1290s, completely stock. The guy just wanted to put them on to see how it would run. And I told him, I said, it's not really going to do any more than a smaller head. He went through the trouble of doubting what I said and bought a pair of performer heads with the smaller runners and the smaller valves. I forget what size they were. And it went the same as the engine did with the Victor Junior heads. And he's like, well, how is that? How can I go with a head that outflows them? These other Edelbrocks, he says, how is that? Why is that? I said, because the engine is not calling for it. You're not using it. It's in an upper power band where you're not in the power band. So guys, if you're not using the flow that a head offers, then all you're doing is defeating your purpose. You're whipping a dead horse. And that's what basically comes down to. But I'm hoping, fellas, this is helpful. I marked this here because I thought why I did this, I would tell you guys, whoever is doing the GT40s or any kind of head, when they pinch off back here, if you open this up too much here, guys, it's not helping it. I will tell you guys that. You would think it would. You think it's shrouded there, and you think it'd pick up flow numbers, but it doesn't help. The only reason I'm done here, like this here, I have it contoured back like that, only because it was so rough, the casting was so rough there, and the combustion chamber pinched over so far. I just wanted a nice, clean combustion chamber there. But anyway, guys, I hope this is helpful. I'm hoping that I explain this somewhat better, what my theories are and why I'm doing it. This isn't to be opinionated. This is how I do it. I know what Joe Sherman says. I know what all these guys say. I've had their books. I've read their books. I've seen their videos. I see them on there right now. The guys that are doing the testing with the E7s and everything. David and all them guys. I see what they do. I know what they do. And believe it or not, some of the things I do are real close to what they do. It's just that I go through the extra time that I think it takes to make them how I want. Another thing I do, you might notice, and somebody would say that doesn't help, is taking the guide down. They say it doesn't help. To me, it's a restriction. If that air comes out of that valve right here and runs into that guide, even though it can split off, okay, they say don't pick up flow numbers. It's not all about flow numbers, guys. It might not show up on a flow number, but it shows up in performance. And whoever wants to believe me on that can, and whoever doesn't believe that don't have to. And that's what's going to set people apart, fellas. Guys that can think I'm wrong about stuff all they want to, or some guys think I'm right. I had a couple guys that have been following me. One guy sent me the heads he did. Man, beautiful job. Beautiful job. And a few other guys have gotten a hold of me. Another guy said he's an extremist like me. He's doing the same thing. I told him not to get himself in trouble, but I could tell the guy knew what he was doing. He was on the same page. He just goes the extra mile. So he's probably, in my book, going to be the guy out there kicking somebody's butt, and the guy's not going to believe he's got these type heads on the vehicle. And that's exactly what happens when you have people that take the extra time and do all this stuff. That's just like cutting this plug back right here. I have it flattened completely back. The video doesn't show. I got to rethread all this. And I'll probably have to go with a different type spark plug. Probably put an E7 plug in there. It probably won't take the standard plug for these anymore. I'm willing to do all that, guys. This is a crucial thing when you're trying to get the advantage and trying to pick up 30 or 40 horsepower over what the average guy makes. And that's what I always do for my own stuff. But anyway, fellas, I hope this is somewhat helpful explaining myself. I hope I don't sound arrogant. And I hope I don't sound like I'm too extreme. It's just this is my stuff. And if I heard it, I'm only hurting myself. That's why I'll only do stuff for certain people. Like these cars right here, these heads right here, they're going on a grudge car. He's a grudge racer. He gives me the okay. I've done all his stuff. And then people are always wondering, why is that guy so fast out there? He ran a guy that was beating everybody up on, the guy has like a 500 shot of nitrous. He ran that guy on motor and beat that guy so bad with a wagon he had. And they're the kind of things that come around that people got to realize. And the guy he ran raced a lot of cars. I mean, these guys are out there on the circuit racing for big money and everything. So they're not like a bunch of guys hanging out in the Wawa parking lot that I'm talking about. These are guys that are really serious racers. When I talk about the cars that we have and the power they make. All right, guys, listen. Have a good night. And I'm still hoping this is somewhat helpful to somebody in any way, shape, or form. I want it to be where that's what my videos are for, is to help somebody. Have a good night, guys. Take care.